Stereotypes. We all have those select few that we formed without thinking. As when it comes to certain groups of people, specifically, it's only human to form some sort of opinion pertaining to them, whether it be based on our own experiences or what we were told. As most of us know, this concept also translates into sports as well. With that being said, NHL fan bases in particular have their own stereotypes they formed mostly because of past circumstances. In this video, we're going to go over a select few fan bases throughout the league that have perceived perceptions about them, whether they are right or wrong, and try to dissect their validity. And with that, here are 5 NHL fan bases and their stereotypes. It's possibly one of the most humorous concepts considering that Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love. But ironically, the city overall has earned a reputation of being combative, classless, and generally unpredictable, dating back to the infamous snowball throwing of '68 during a halftime show, at Santa mind you. Following a botched Eagles season, the fan base that embraces the major 4 local teams with passion has been for decades maintaining their reputation, as Flyers fans have had their own share of past acts that have been less than savory on display. From a fan famously baiting Ty Domi into a opportunistic scrap in the penalty box, to throwing the bracelets to the ice that were meant to honor the late co-owner Bob Schneider following a playoff loss, Philly fans have no shortage of these incidents that have been giving them a bad rap. But what I can say is, despite this image given to the majority, those who are filling the seats of Wells Fargo Center have been doing so when allowed, on a consistent basis, since 1996, back when the arena had a different name. As according to HockeyDB, there's been no shortage of fans present cheering their team on, regardless of their performance. And even as a Pens fan, in my opinion, having the best mascot in the league representing your team and endearing viewers more to you in that regard does help soften the brass previous conceptions formed by NHL fans alike. So the Canucks fan base is basically here because, oh yeah, that 3 Days Grace song. No, not the song itself, but the title meaning, riot. A nice little 4-letter word. As the second of 2 riots that took place at the hands of the Canucks fanbase happened after the album 1X was released in 2007. So maybe, just maybe, some are blasting the tune through their iPods. Anyways, I digress. So the 2 riots, the first one that took place in 1994 in the streets of Vancouver, transpired shortly after the Canucks lost in Game 7 to Mark Messier and the New York Rangers on June 14th and lasted well into the next morning. And without getting too much into the destruction here, let's just say it wasn't forgotten. And more than 15 years later, the fans again had the same reaction to their team losing out this time to the Bruins. Except, well, they got started much earlier on the rioting before the Game 7 was even over and the 4-0 blowout concluded. But similar results, of course, presented themselves in a catastrophic fashion. Therefore, despite knowing that there are some amazing Canucks fans out there due to the magnitude of the acts, these have unfortunately cast an overall image on the modern Canucks fan that probably isn't going away anytime soon. Well, one thing I do have to say about the Islanders fan base is they are some of the most passionate fans out there, in my opinion. And with that being said, sometimes that passion has taken a turn for the worse, as Isles fans have been very passionate about being angry, especially when it comes to their former captain John Tavares, as the island was not a safe environment mentally for number 91 upon his return as a Maple Leaf in early 2019. And really, this event for Isles fans seemed to be the biggest one that was probably marked on the calendar as soon as the 2018-19 schedule was released, as some fans recognized the return prematurely by using Tavares jerseys to dispose of their dog's excrement, to burning them, or even duct taping them to the pavement outside of Nassau Coliseum for commuters to run over. Once Tavares made his way to Long Island, he was greeted with the "We don't need you" chants, among others that spewed profanity in unison. Even though, from a spectator's perspective, this was very entertaining, but it's pretty understandable considering there were even objects thrown his way purposefully that fans should have and could have been more respectful towards a guy that made a choice to just go play for his hometown team.
It's a cheap, dirty hit. It's just, I wonder what would happen if we did it to their 2 whining stars over there. I wonder what would happen. Just no respect amongst players, none. It's one of the most arrogant organizations in the league. They whine about this stuff all the time, and look what happens.
Remember when John Tortorella publicly said that he believed Pittsburgh was the most arrogant organization in the league? Well, it turns out that there was actually some truth to this claim, as over the years, mostly due to the fact that Sidney Crosby has been the face of the franchise, who is known as the NHL's golden boy, as in, he gets away with a lot of stuff, the image has been, by association, given the fan base a stereotype. This, paired with the fact that after winning a few Stanley Cups and being one of the dynasty teams of last decade, to an outsider looking in, fans can appear to be cocky, and always looking for what some deem as soft calls. Despite this though, being a Pens fan myself, I can tell you that we have some of the most passionate fans cheering on our team in the Steel City.
Really depressed.
And how do you feel about that?
Depressed.
Going to give a little personal nugget here on this one, as Freaky Friday is one of my favorite movies, so I feel like this is the perfect representation of a Sabres fan right here, as many Buffalo fans, including Melody Martin and Dwayne, have publicly displayed their distaste for the longtime state of the team. Therefore, out of all the entries on this list, I'd have to say that this one, in my opinion at least, is farthest from being a concept and closest to being reality. And it's not just because I'm taking this small sample size into consideration, because I feel like anyone with a brain could figure out that going for a straight decade without a single playoff appearance, tying the longest losing streak in NHL history, and watching Jack Eichel waste away year after year under the Pegula management would naturally take its toll on you mentally, but I have to hand it to Buffalo, because, despite the team's shortcomings, fans have really stood by the team, as Buffalo has never had a shortage of fan attendance, despite unfortunately not having much to cheer about, which is pretty impressive if you ask me.